You are listening to the Young Black Travelers podcast. Black voices talking on experiential travel, dedicated to creating a global community of travelers. So, be bold, be inspired, be spontaneous. We are YBT. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Young Black Travelers podcast. My name is Asher Cunningham, and I'm the founder of Young Black Travelers. And today we have another YBT team member with us today. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Valone here, one of the original members of YBT. I am manager of strategic partnerships as well as treasurer of our great organization. So very pleased to be on. It's been quite a long time since I've been on one of these episodes, actually. So it's good to be back.
So welcome back. Welcome back. I think the last time you were here, was it the Brian episode?
Brian, were we talking about Safari? The Safari? No.
Oh, you did the conversation with Dave.
I think.
Oh,
I
yes.
Think I was
okay.
I think I was on a conversation with Dave, but I might have done something else after. Probably one of the team wrap-ups. I think might have been the last one that I did, actually.
Got you. You see, it's been so long that I can't remember, he can't remember, but nonetheless, Valone is here today. We are going to be talking about Valone's trip to St. Lucia in this conversation. Listen, St. Lucia is a beautiful Caribbean island, and I'm sure it's on many of our bucket lists. But before we get there, Valone, the first question and the intro, I think they already know who you are. So yeah, Valone, the question we have for you today is, how do you approach planning your travels? And do you have any tips for our listeners?
Great starter question, softball question. I approach my travels in terms of, I usually look to go somewhere that's pretty warm.
Okay.
I don't think I've had a wintry vacation quite yet, but I look for somewhere warm. Being of Caribbean descent, normally I look for somewhere tropical or in the Caribbean. And also, I try to get ahead of the trends. I try to go somewhere where I don't see a lot of people going online. You don't see a lot of, our young Black travelers going to these places just yet. So that's really, what pops into my head. Also, for me, a major thing also is excursions.
Okay.
So if there are, 2 to 3 major things that I can do or experience there, that also takes into effect.
Okay. So those are actually some great tips. Try to get ahead of the trend, and excursions are important. And you say excursions are important because you just believe that you probably won't be bored when you're at the destination, correct?
Correct. So and that's a great add-on. So I can add some more clarity. The reason why I add excursions is typically when I travel, it's not 100% for vacation. Where I go, put the phone down, put the feet up. It's half and half. Go somewhere where you can relax by the beach, have good local food,
Okay.
but then also do something memorable like my trip to, Guatemala, where I hiked a volcano.
Well, that was memorable, right? Guatemala hiking a volcano. Wait, did we talk about that on this podcast?
We did do that. My cousin Drew, was on that as well.
Yes.
But as I said in that podcast, if you hadn't heard that one, I'll say it on this one as well. I don't recommend that excursion. My brother was talking about traveling. He's considering a few places. Costa Rica has come up, and Guatemala also came up, and he mentioned wanting to do the volcano. And once again, just because I did it,
It doesn't mean you should do it.
it doesn't mean you should do it.
Well, that's why you did it, right? You allowed the listeners to have a lesson off of you. So wait, why would you recommend that again?
Not to get too far away from St. Lucia, the topic at hand, it's just hiking a volcano is such a test of physical, emotional, mental, and faith fortitude. While it wasn't Mount Everest,
It felt like Mount Everest.
It felt like Mount Everest minus the snow and the avalanche. It's, and I guess it is something you could prepare for,
Mm,
but being from New York, being an inner city kid, inner city man, while we might do a lot of walking, that walking does not interpret or transition into hiking up a mountain or a volcano.
at different altitudes. And trust me, I
Well, the
get that.
altitude wasn't the issue,
Hmm.
and that could be also because they provided us with like altitude pills, like motion
Okay.
sickness pills.
Okay.
So that could have been part of why the altitude didn't play a part. It was more so you are essentially on a stairmaster for 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, if you have not listened to that podcast episode, go back and listen to it because you will hear a lot more from Valone as to his reasons why he probably may not suggest that excursion. But you will also learn a little probably bit about what you should do when you visit Guatemala. But we're going to take a break right now. And when we get back, we're going to get into the nitty gritty about our conversation with Valone about his trip to St. Lucia. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. So, welcome back to our conversation with Valone. We're about to head into the main conversation where we're going to be talking about Valone's trip to St. Lucia. Listen, if you didn't know already, we've said it many times on this conversation. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, literally right next to St. Lucia. I think when I was growing up, so where I'm from in St. Vincent, Chateau Belair, you typically would see St. Lucia from where I am. So it's really close it's really close, but when I was living in St. Vincent, I don't think the connectivity was there. So, as close as it is, I've never been to St. Lucia. And I also do know that it could be difficult to get to St. Lucia, particularly from St. Vincent. So, Valone, how difficult was it for you to get to St. Lucia from the US?
Pretty easy.
Mm,
It was a straightforward flight, direct flight. Yeah, it
okay.
was it was pretty easy.
Oh, so it was a direct flight from JFK.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, there was no. Yeah, I don't think there was a connecting flight. I think both flights to and from were direct.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know, listen, tourism is now booming in the Caribbean. The Caribbean has been taken off. Like now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines have a new sandals resort that is even set to take off even more.
Jamaica has a new one too.
See, so it's like literally taking off. So now flights are going in like crazy. And I know people talk about the sandals effect. It's usually where there's a sandals resort, apparently there is more flight and more connectivity because that's
Interesting.
what St. Vincent is now using to bring in more airlift. But before sandals was there was American Airline and Virgin. But now I think with sandals, United and JetBlue will be coming into St. Vincent more. But I say that to say I know St. Lucia has a sandals, and I think this is part of the reason why it's probably easy to get to St. Lucia, at least from the US. And so, accommodations, where did you stay in St. Lucia?
Great question. So the trip was pretty much 6 days, 5 nights.
Mm,
So split that into two lodging. Stayed
okay.
at Stonefield Resort, which is not only family owned and black owned, but female owned.
Okay.
Um, Owned by Miss Brown, who I wish was my cousin, because then I can go to and from with ease. But yes, lovely lady who you saw on the property from time to time. She does own that property, Stonefield Resort,
Stonefield
with
Resort.
her children. They run that. She's also well known on the island. They own a bunch of other properties, from what I heard, on the island as well. So spent the first few days there, and then went to Chocolat Hotel, which is a boutique hotel,
Okay.
very very popular. It's probably the most popular lodging in St. Lucia due to the social media effect, right? Once again, because it's boutique,
Hmm.
that's really boutique hotels are the thing now, right? So you go on their Instagram page, there's a lot of infusion of cacao, which is
Mm,
essentially how chocolate is made. It's pretty much
correct.
chocolate. So They infused that into everything. The soaps, the
Mm.
mac and cheese,
Oh,
the ackee
they serve
and bake.
ackee.
Oh, I had it for breakfast. I had it for breakfast every morning when I was there.
Wow.
So yeah, they
Ackee and
really,
bake with cacao or
yeah,
chocolate.
yeah, they infuse it every
Mm.
meal, even the tea, they infuse it in everything. And
Wow.
I don't like chocolate. I don't have a sweet tooth, so I probably didn't enjoy that as much as chocolate lovers. So yeah, so at Stonefield had a great room actually. Was able to get a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, full kitchen
Mm.
room for the price of a 1 bedroom
Oh, wow.
room. I don't know what happened at that moment.
The blessings.
I was surprised when I booked because I was just like, maybe this is a glitch. When I get there, we'll see. But no,
Hmm.
I had this huge entire space with a pool, right?
Wow.
With a pool, four to
Private pool.
private pool, four to
Wow.
8 feet pool, and mango trees everywhere. Mangoes just falling by the minute, not the hour, by
Jesus.
the minute,
My
just
Lord.
dropping.
You were in heaven,
Um,
man.
was in heaven. A full library
Okay.
in the room that I had.
Wow.
Well, I don't even know if I could call it room because, like I said, it was the villa. Villa is the correct word.
Got
Pardon.
you. Wow.
Villa would be the correct word because there were multiple rooms, and we had a view of the pitons, which are the two mountains
Mm.
that St. Lucia is very well known for.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask you if this because I've seen a hotel where a lot of people post with the pitons right behind. There's
Yes, I
like a
wanted to stay. I
pool.
wanted to stay there, but that one was a little too expensive,
Mm.
and it didn't. It the scheduling also didn't allow for the split, right?
Okay.
Because as I mentioned, I stayed at two hotels,
Mm-hmm.
Stonefield and Chocolat. But that resort that Asher just mentioned, that was the original plan because that is the. I know I said Chocolat is the most popular, but that hotel is actually number one because it gives you the most outrageous, spectacular views in St. Lucia, but it's
Correct.
very, very, very pricey. It's like anywhere from 2 to 3 thousand a night.
Yeah, I won't be surprised. I mean, but the truth is, the Caribbean can be extremely expensive sometimes, So, listen. Hopefully, when you, as you listen to our podcast and you're listening to our tips as we go on, maybe not this episode, but other episodes. Hopefully, you're learning about ways that you can navigate pricey situations. Because sometimes you don't need to pay $2,000. I don't even think you need to pay $500 a night for a room, but basically go with what your budget allow. But Valone, I know St. Lucia doesn't have a train. I know they probably have a bus system. How was it to get around St. Lucia? How did you maneuver transportation in St. Lucia?
Great, great question. And I just want to add the resort that we were just talking about is Jade Mountain Resort. So
Jade
for those who are
Mountain.
interested, Jade Mountain Resort, number one ranked resort lodging in St. Lucia. There's another resort that I'll mention later on, but Jade Mountain is pretty much like anywhere from 2 to 3 thousand a night,
Wow.
easily. But back to the question in terms of transportation. So landing in St. Lucia, there are two sides of the island.
Mm.
I don't want to misspeak, so I'm not going to get too specific with using certain names or saying, what country owns or populates one side of the island or the other. Like a lot of our, Caribbean countries like
Mhm.
Aruba and St. Martin and Anguilla, we know that those territories are sometimes half French and half
Mhm.
Spanish, half English and half
Mhm.
French. But with St. Lucia, got off the plane and the ride to the resort and where most of the resorts that I have mentioned and will mention,
Mhm.
that was pretty much a hour 45, almost 2 hour drive.
Got you.
So once we were dropped off, we, picked up by the resort, taxi,
Mhm.
resort bus, and it was, quite a long ride. Once we got settled. Anything that was needed, the resort staff would call a taxi.
Got you. And so typically, how expensive would the taxi be? I know St. Lucia used EC dollar. You could either use EC dollar or American dollar. Approximately how much would that be per trip for a listener?
That is a good question. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it wasn't too unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But it might have been it, it might have been anywhere between $12 to $15, I think, a ride.
Oh, really?
From what I know, I don't think that Lyft or Uber
No.
is on the island.
Mhm.
So you have regular taxis, and I think, like I said, they were anywhere between $12 and $15.
Yeah, I think that is something definitely in the lower Caribbean. You're not going to find Lyft, Uber in the. I think in majority of Caribbean islands, you're not finding Lyft and Uber. And if you find it in an island now, it's probably new. But also, I think one of the things that I know about St. Lucia when you talk about the two sides, I don't think there are two distinct sides because St. Lucia is very, they are all St. Lucians are St. Lucians. I think the English was the last country to populate St. Lucia, though they have a mix of people because you will probably hear some St. Lucians who speak their Creole. But one of the things I do know about St. Lucia is St. Lucia does have two airports, but I don't think you, a traveler coming, let's say, from the US or the UK or Canada, may run into that issue of going to a different airport because I do know there's an airport where smaller planes land. And I would know that because, sometimes earlier on, a few years ago, traveling to St. Vincent, you may find a flight to St. Lucia when that was before St. Vincent had its international airport. And you fly into their international airport. What is the name of it?
Great question.
The, we'll find the name of the international airport. But then you had to go drive to the local airport of St. Lucia. But those are some little tips, I guess, to know about St. Lucia. But Valone, in St. Lucia, when you got there, what were some of the places that you visited around St. Lucia?
So the airport is Heronara
Heronara, yeah.
International Airport.
Got
And your question, Asher, was, what are some places that
some of the sites that you saw in St. Lucia.
So once again, the pitons, right? There's a big one and there's a smaller one. Those are really the Godfather sites in St. Lucia. So being at Stonefield didn't need to take an excursion that involves hiking up one of the pitons because that's one of the excursions to actually hike up there. Had the ability to see it every day in the backyard of the villa. The other activities, most.
But we already know, based on your trip to Guatemala, you're probably not apt to hike any mountain at this point.
Well. This mountain, I think is much lighter because we've seen a lot of folk who do not have hiking experience who were able to do it, right? So it doesn't compare to the volcano
In Guatemala.
Yeah, so let's leave that as the PTSD comes in. But other activities, you have quite a few waterfalls. There's the Superman waterfalls, where Superman the movie starring Christopher Reeves, they actually filmed on site there.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why it's called Superman Falls is not only because they filmed the movie there in the 70s, but because the rocks in which the waterfall forms and flows down into the river bed or the waterfall bed, whatever you call it, the minerals change colors. So it gives the appearance of red and blue and green and yellow and oranges, depending on how the sun is shining and glaring. You have that. So that's one waterfall.
Nice.
You have Tarai Waterfall, which is another waterfall. Didn't get the chance to do that one.
Okay.
You also have Sulphur Springs, which is a excursion that gives you the opportunity to not only see the Superman Falls, but you're able to go to another smaller waterfall. And when I say this is the best water I've ever been in. I can
Okay.
literally live in the water because once again, it's
Really?
sulfur water. It's warm water. It's the best temperature, better than a jacuzzi. Like literally, you
Wow.
get lost in that waterfall, and it's all natural.
Got
It's
you.
amazing.
Wait, does St. Lucia have a The pitons are not volcanoes.
They might be dormant.
That probably is it because obviously that region is probably very volcanic because obviously St. Vincent has its
Yes,
volcano.
they are. They're volcanic plugs or spires. So I think what that means is they are dormant
They're
now.
dormant now because
Um,
that region, again, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Grenada has an underwater volcano, Kick him Jenny. So, okay. So that's why the sulfur
right.
springs.
Yes. So also with Sulfur Springs, and as we are recording this podcast, Haley Berry and Haley Berry and her partner DDG the rapper, they are actually in St. Lucia with
Ah,
their newborn child. Their newborn child is probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months now.
gotcha.
There, if you go to their Instagram page, you might see the photos. But they took their baby to the Sulphur Springs, which I probably wouldn't take my child who's 4 months, 5 months, even a toddler probably wouldn't. Not that the water is extremely
It's
hot
healthy.
because it depends on the time that you go. But
Minerals are good for.
they're good. But children's skin aren't fully developed at this time, regardless of how good the minerals are. It's just something
This is the American speaking here.
that scares me a little bit.
Listen,
Um,
that's probably the best thing for the baby skin.
so yeah, so went to Sulphur Springs. You get to bathe in basically sulfuric water, which if you go early in the morning, they tell you it's pretty modest, heated like a jacuzzi. But if you
Ah,
go later on in the day, it sometimes could be almost unbearable to be in. You
gotcha.
also are taken on a tour to see the sulfur, and the sulfur, is still going, and it's still what's the best word to put this? It still finds its way into the air in the
Mm,
springs. Once again, this is a volcanic island,
makes
so
sense.
those springs are always, that sulfur is always in the air. What I
Mm.
learned on the tour was if you can't smell the sulfur, you're in trouble. So there's a stench of the sulfur. It's almost like rotten egg, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the tour guide said if you don't smell the sulfur, that means it's very gassy and it's poisonous, and you probably will die in minutes.
Okay.
It's also, I think, a signal of the volcano going to erupt, I
Mm.
think, as well. So locals have been able to live and learn off the land based off of just that smell alone, being able
Gotcha.
to know the weather and meteorology based off of the sulfur smell. There's also a story of a man who fell into the sulfurs several years ago, which has allowed them to close more areas off. He instantly, died because we're talking about 4, 5,000, 6,000 degrees. You don't stand a chance if you fall in there.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's the Sulphur Springs.
Hmm.
You have the beaches. There's, quite a few beaches, and while, for me, Jamaica is the best island, St. Lucia has won me over, and it's made me feel like that might be a trip that I might have to make every year. Yeah, because it's a great, small, safe island, and the beaches are just, fantastic. You have Margaret Beach. Well, actually, Margaretite Beach
Okay.
um, was probably the best beach that they have there, and that's connected to one of the hotels, which was also on my list that I was considering, which is the second most popular resort on the island. You'll see a lot of social media influencers staying at that hotel, Sugar Beach,
Sugar
a
Beach.
Viceroy resort. So
Hmm.
Sugar Beach, yeah, Sugar Beach was a really great beach. Their beaches just, don't fail. So, just to wrap that question up, Diamond Falls Botanical Gardens, which once again, you have the opportunity to experience Superman Falls and Diamond Falls, right? But there is a extreme hike that is a part of it, that
Okay.
you are hiking down into essentially the forest to get to the falls.
Wow.
And there's no walkways, there's
How
no
long is that hike?
maybe 25 minutes,
Okay, that's not bad.
but it's not bad in terms of time. But once again, you're walking through a forest. There's no walkways. You're literally walking on unstable rock, unstable branches, unstable roots. There's no, there's nothing to hold on to. So you have
Gotcha.
to be very careful. But once you get down there, it's worth it. There was also a man down there that's mute. And, like many Caribbean islands, you have people that live in the forest.
Wow.
This guy lived in the forest, had, a goat or two, and
Living off of nature.
living off nature, and he offered me and offered me like a fruit salad, fresh. Like he made it in front of my face, mango and some other an apple and some other things
Wow.
that he made fresh right there, and gave it to me. And that was the Diamond Falls Botanical Gardens experience. Botanical Gardens also shows you some of the plants and flowers of the island, some poisonous and non-poisonous that
Okay.
you don't want to touch and you should not touch. Sulphur Springs, which I mentioned, where Haley Berry is now with DDG, did a sunset cruise, which was really good. Sapphire Falls, Jungle Spa, that was also the opportunity to once again go all the way down and take that hike to the waterfall. So did quite a bit.
Wow. It's 6, 7 days. Wow. So listen, you guys are hearing a lot of things that you should definitely put on your list when you go to St. Lucia. But I guess the last question for you is, let's talk about the food. What was your favorite dish or dishes? And did you try KFC? Because I know
No,
KFC is a Caribbean thing. Each island say they are the best, but did you try it in St. Lucia? What was your favorite dishes?
so I did not have KFC. KFC was on the other side of the
Okay.
island.
Okay, makes sense. That's where. So the other side is obviously where most locals
It's
live.
more so no, the part of the island that I was on was local.
Or maybe where the town is. KFC is where the town is.
Yeah, on the other side, close to the airport, that's more, I would say, touristy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though most of the
Oh,
resorts
okay.
are on the side that I was on,
Mm-hmm.
when you walk out of the resort that I was at, you could literally walk down the hill. I mean, it would be quite a walk, but we took a cab. But essentially, you're right in the heartland of
The city.
the town.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
you
Nice.
know, drove down there to not only get on the Sunset Cruise, but to eat, local food down there. And that is, that's the local town. Did a photo shoot out there as well.
Gotcha.
And the photographer got in the car with the photographer and his girlfriend, and he had forgot some equipment, and we drove to his house and picked it up. So like we really are in the heart of that part of St. Lucia. It wasn't,
Gotcha.
you didn't see McDonald's and KFC and, so had local food, had,
What are the Volusian dishes? Wow.
so I mean, you can get fresh fish pretty much anywhere,
Of course.
chicken. So normally when I go to these places, because New York is not, well known for fresh fish, you don't want to go
course.
get any fish out of the Hudson, right? So I like to, get fresh fish because it's not often that you can take advantage. So was able to eat at two local restaurants, Petit Peak,
Okay.
which is literally right across from the harbor where you can do the sunset cruises and get on to one of those water tours, and then they sail you out into the middle of the ocean, and you can do the rest.
Sunset.
And ate at Seashell. Seashell is further into the town,
Okay.
and that's beachside.
Okay.
So There were kids that actually were swimming in the beach as as you're eating, you can see them swimming in those waters. Get a chance to eat a third local place because once again, staying at these resorts, the food is all inclusive.
Gotcha.
So to to get the bang for your buck, you're eating at the resort
Makes sense.
every
Makes sense.
night and every morning, depending on what your schedule is. You might eat something local, but for the most part, took advantage of the food at the resorts in which I stayed.
Okay. Well, listen. So I guess you've learned a lot from Valone's trip and tips of St. Lucia. Definitely, if you are heading to St. Lucia or thinking about it, hopefully this conversation has been helpful for you. But we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna wrap this entire conversation up. And yeah, thank you for sticking with us. So stay tuned. All right, so welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. Listen, we have Valone who has been talking to us about his trip to St. Lucia. Again, St. Lucia, a Caribbean island in the Southern Caribbean. I think it is in the, Lord, I should know these things. It's in the Windward Islands. Don't quote me on that one because the Caribbean is divided between Windward and Leeward Islands. So it's Southern Caribbean, not probably very close to Jamaica, but it's to the south, close to St. Vincent, Grenada, in that region of the world. But listen, like we do on all of our conversations here and all of our podcasts on YBT, we take a moment to shout out a loyal follower, someone who is engaged in the YBT community, someone who sticks and listens to our podcast, someone who reads our blog, someone who follows our Instagram page, people who probably comment and watch our TikToks. Listen, today we are going to shout out one of our followers. Her name on Instagram is Miss Young International. Miss, that's MISSYOUNG International. I think you know how to spell international all together. Definitely go check out her page. She is a traveler. She has amazing pictures, amazing content on Instagram. So if you want to be inspired, if you want to know probably where to go next, maybe it's not St. Lucia, but maybe it is New Zealand or Australia. I know she's in that part of the world currently. Maybe go over there and check out her page and get some travel inspiration. Yeah, so check out Miss Young International. But Valone, we typically play this game called, This or That. We typically play a game at the end of our podcast episode. So on this episode, we're going to play This or That. And so, there's really no in between here, as you know. It's either one side. Stick with one side. So the first one is beach or mountains?
Beach, without a doubt.
PTSD, right?
PTSD.
Okay, so city break or countryside retreat?
Can we elaborate on what countryside?
So countryside, I think typically when we think about maybe places like the US or the UK, Australia, mountainous cabins, those type of things, obviously.
So I'll go city break.
Okay.
On that.
Wow. Historical sites or natural wonders?
That's a tough one because if we're talking historical sites like Jerusalem or Rome, Italy, then that takes the cake. But if we're just talking about natural wonders and seeing, things that God has made, then, I might have to go natural wonders.
Wait, so which?
As I said, I think there's more natural wonders
that God has made.
Yes, than historical sites. So I would have gone natural wonders.
Okay, so like we're talking about like the sites in Iceland and places like that, natural wonders, volcanoes and all of that.
Volcanoes.
Got you. So natural wonders. Solo travel or group travel?
Group travel, is that more than 2 or is that more than 4? Or more than 3?
Wow. Great question.
Because I can't do the group business.
So I would say group is more than 2 because solo is 1.
Okay. So
we've never actually thought through that differentiation on this
Right,
podcast, but
because
I think that defines it actually.
I would probably say group, right? Group meaning more than one.
More than one, because you said you can't do the group business.
Group business meaning a quartet of people, a
So you have your
multitude of
limit.
people. I have my limit.
What's the limit?
I think the limit is probably 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
4.
group travel with 4 max.
4 max. It could be a double date trip, like 2 couples. You know, me and my cousins, we did a group trip to Thailand. That was 4 of us.
Gotcha.
We could have, one more could have gone. So it also kind of depends on who's in this group, right? So 4 or 5 is probably max for the group.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, you're bringing out a few of the things that people typically bring up when they talk about group trips and group travels.
And the horrors of group travels. And there's a thing on Instagram right now, I don't know if everybody saw it, about this girl talking about her friend only brought $135 on vacation. and
the friend was expecting her to pay for her.
And the debate is whether or not you should have even allowed your friend. If that's your friend,
allowed her to go?
Yeah. If your friend only has $135 in their bank account, you as a friend should not allow them to go on that trip.
Wow. That is quite interesting because wait, so that I'm sure that conversation come up before they went on the trip? That the friend only had 135?
The girl showed the screenshots in the TikTok video. I didn't actually watch the video religiously. I kind of skimmed the comments, and the comments pretty much was, a real friend wouldn't allow a friend that only has $135 in their bank account to go on vacation.
I mean, I would say honestly, if it was in full transparency that the friend had $135 and she made the friend know this, and the friend, well, I think a good friend would say, okay, come along, I'll cover you until XYZ. But that also has its issues as well, because if the person doesn't pay back, then you're in a whole other hole there, and that's going to destroy a friendship. But I think to your point, I don't think the transparency was there. That's why the girl made the video. And now that's where the problem comes in.
And it's just so obviously the girl still went on a trip.
With $135.
But I don't know. Obviously they went and came back somehow, some way.
Well, she should have probably just stayed in the room all trip. That's what she should have done. Okay. So you said group travel, adventure sports, or leisurely sightseeing?
Adventure sports sounds to me like water sports.
Water sports, ATV, it could be jumping out of a plane.
Good. Okay.
All of that stuff.
Adventure sports has
bungee jumping.
Has a multitude of things. So I don't swim. Well, not I don't swim. I can't swim. I love the water, but I can't swim. So water sports is that's probably off the board. Bungee jumping, absolutely not. I've done parasailing. I've done jet skiing. I've done hookah diving, which isn't snorkeling, but essentially it's like you kind of stay at the top of the water.
Got you.
Leisurely sightseeing. When I read that question or hear that question, I think about walking through town. Takes me back to going to Key West. I went to Key West as a stop on a cruise. It takes me back to Italy, which I haven't gone yet, but Italy is a trip where I think I'm gonna have to spend a month there just to be able to go and slowly take in all of the historical sites and things without feeling rushed. And that's very costly, so I got to figure out how I'm going to be able to accomplish that. So I think I'll go with leisurely sightseeing
for 1,000.
Yeah, for 1,000. I think so.
So leisurely sightseeing. And would you say local cuisine or familiar food from home?
Am I eating the familiar food from home on vacation, or you're just in
This
general?
is all on vacation. You're away. You're in St. Lucia. Would you go to McDonald's? Would you go to Fridays if they had them there?
So
would you
definitely
go to
doing
local cuisine?
Definitely doing local cuisine. on the island or where I am, unless I am in Ireland. No disrespect to our Irish brothers and
Oh boy.
sisters, or Greece that has a lot of aquatic creatures that I don't eat. That
Gotcha.
would make things hard for me to
Gotcha.
really enjoy the local cuisine. Which is probably why I haven't been to those places, because those are things I consider as well. Is, am I going to
Enjoy the
eat?
food, right?
Right. I can't. I need sustenance to be able to get up in the morning and do things.
Got you. And would you say cultural immersion or a relaxing getaway?
So by now, everyone is catching on to my love for Italy and my dream to go to Italy and Rome. So cultural immersion, I'm thinking about Rome, Italy. I'm thinking about Positano. I'm thinking about Jerusalem in Israel. I'm thinking about Ghana and Africa.
Afrochella, Afro Nation.
I'm thinking about all that, and then relaxing getaway, just being by the pool, being by the beach. And by the way, I'm more a beach person than a pool person.
Yeah.
Because I like the water to be warm. The pool normally is cold regardless.
Yeah.
So St. Lucia was a relaxing getaway where, while there were excursions pretty much every day, it still didn't feel like it was go time. So
Gotcha.
because I haven't done the cultural immersion really, I'll have to do relaxing getaway.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for you to get to Italy, Jerusalem, all of those places to just immerse yourself in culture. But you could have immersed yourself in culture in all of these other places anyway.
Yes, such as hiking a volcano. Yes.
No, or
that is a cultural immersion, because the guides that actually guide you up the volcano, they have been hiking those volcanoes since they were like 5 years old.
5 years old. So it's their way of...
It's their way of life. They do that. They do it with ease. With ease.
Wow. Well, okay. But so we're going to wrap this conversation up in just a few. But Valone, how much would you say this trip to St. Lucia cost you? And maybe an excursion that you would recommend to our listeners?
So the trip, primarily, the large cost was the lodging. Once again, because you have the two pitons, that real estate, that scenery is what really drives up the price, in my opinion.
Wait, how much did you say?
I didn't say the price.
Okay.
As well as the beaches. The beaches, especially Sugar Beach, is just, it doesn't get, more amazing than that, really. Even though Sugar Beach was really rocky, so you need water shoes, and the sand was very, very hot too. That's another reason why you want that. I know I didn't answer the question, but Sugar Beach, which is the Viceroy Resort, one of the reasons why I wanted to stay there and probably will stay there is because Sugar Beach is right outside the window. Literally, like, you can get a room that's on the beach. So, like, as everyone is on the beach, people are able to walk back into their rooms to do whatever they need to do. Obviously, all the rooms aren't on the beach.
That's the best way to travel to the Caribbean, right?
But yeah, I was just like, man, if I do come back here, I think I want to not only stay at that resort, but stay at that room, because that was probably the best time I had on the island, besides the falls. But the cost, once again, staying at the boutique hotel, which was a Chocolat, and staying at Stonefield, the trip was over $9,000.
Okay.
So I don't know if it would have been cheaper if only stayed at one resort over the other, but yeah, the trip was about $9,000 plus
per person.
No, total. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
and the lodging, once again, was the largest cost.
Gotcha. I mean, hotels certainly, as we know, can usually be the biggest expense in traveling. So one of the things that we recommend when you are traveling, you probably need to, first of all, know the type of experience that you want to have on your trip. If you want to probably be amongst the people, be amongst the locals, then we certainly recommend that you probably look at Airbnbs or different places like that, but also not every destination has Airbnbs. I don't know if St. Lucia has Airbnbs. I do know in St. Vincent it's not a big thing. But also just look at those costs. There are certain ways that you could honestly mitigate some of the costs by making sure, like, there are things that you can, I think, control. Airplane tickets always change, as we say. So if you know you're going to St. Lucia and you know for sure you're going, like, literally get those plane tickets as soon as possible, because you could wait one day and then those plane tickets go all the way up. But nonetheless, Valone, do you have any closing words for our listeners before we go and close this entire conversation out?
No, to our listeners, appreciate the support as always. To the young Black travelers, we do this work to help educate, not only you as a listener, but even those who aren't old enough to listen to us just yet. But, one day they'll be able to listen to us and take some advice, heed some advice. Regarding St. Lucia, the beauty of waking up every morning and seeing the pitons was a great experience. Sugar Beach was a great experience. And Sulphur Springs and Sapphire Falls Jungle Spa. Sapphire Falls Jungle Spa was probably number one for me. Like I said, it's a hike in the forest, down. I don't even know if I can say downhill, maybe down mountain, maybe.
Okay.
But just being in those waterfalls is different, because unlike Jamaica, you have Dunn's River Falls. That water's cold.
Oh, really?
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold. And there are other waterfalls in St. Lucia that are cold, but because the Sapphire Falls is really close to the sulfur, that water is extremely warm. So it's literally like being in the shower, and it was just
on the hot water.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was amazing. The only thing missing was a massage before or after. So I'll leave it at that.
St. Lucia Tourism Board, take this advice. I guess y'all need to put a massage spot close to the fall, because that would make the experience complete. But anyway, listen, thank you all for listening to this conversation today. Valone, do you want to leave your Instagram with our listeners so they can probably connect with you if they have any questions?
Certainly. My page is not a private page. You can follow me at Valone, which is my first name, Valone, David, DAVID _Valone, David _. You will see places that I've traveled. You'll see St. Lucia, that trip at the top of the list. And in my highlights, there's a St. Lucia highlight. So I'm not one to hide or gatekeep. I'm always open to sharing so that others can experience the same feelings of joy, or even higher levels of joy than I did when I'm on vacation. So yes, please follow Valone David _. Thank you.
Nice. And so listen, remember that we are Young Black Travelers, and if you're interested in purchasing our merch, we do have merch. Currently, Valone and I are rocking the YBT hoodies. You probably can't see that, but you could go on our Instagram and you'll see reels of the hoodies, which may be out of stock right now, but maybe when you're reaching out to us, we'll have another set of merch that you can purchase. Just reach out to us on Instagram. We're on Facebook at Young Black Travelers. We are on Instagram at Young Black Travelers Blog. We're on TikTok at Young Black Travelers, Threads at Young Black Travelers Blog. And you can simply visit our website at www.youngblacktravelers.com. Again, thank you for listening to today's conversation with Valone about his trip to St. Lucia. See you on the other side on our next episode. Take care.